This bill is an effort, I think, to rewrite federal law in a fashion that would make it harder for states to implement voter verification. We're trying to solve a problem that I think doesn't exist.
But the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act is not about protecting voting rights. It's about solidifying Democrat power nationally. It's about federal control over state and local elections, which, by the way, is unconstitutional. It's about diminishing the security of our elections. And voter integrity laws aren't discriminatory. They are required for a functioning constitutional republic.
What it does look like to me is an enormous power grab by the federal government to the detriment of the states.
The section attorneys didn't agree with the prosecution. They engaged in horrific behavior and targeted a black paralegal, telling him he was not black enough because he had the gall to work on that matter. If they don't like the politics of a particular state, they target them. There were signs on doors that said, "Mess with Texas." It is very, very political. I was shocked at how political it is. Abuses by the section have also been really expensive to the taxpayer. The Office of Legislative Affairs said that between 1993 and 2000, the voting section has been sanctioned well over $2 billion. The Supreme Court said that Section 5 was temporary, and it was temporary for a reason, right? Because we no longer have rampant discrimination in this country. The Supreme Court in Shelby not only determined that the formula for Section 5 is unconstitutional, but it also questioned the need for it today. It made clear that only rampant discrimination on a wide scale would justify any formula for Section 5. And if this rampant discrimination that everyone talks about actually exists, why is it then that the Department of Justice has only brought 9 Section 2 cases since the Shelby County decision? Simply put, the act and the formula will not survive judicial scrutiny.
Americans today have an easier time registering and voting securely than at any time in our nation's history, and election officials and voters are already protected from intimidation, coercion by comprehensive federal and state law. A survey after the 2022 election in Georgia shows that critics of the state's 2021 election reforms were wrong. The University of Georgia found that precisely 0% of black voters said they had a poor experience voting in 2022. And according to the Pew Research Center, Georgians cast more votes in 2022 than in any other midterm election in its history.
I do find it troubling that these couldn't both all be answered with a simple yes. I think if you asked most Americans, the overwhelming majority of Americans would say, yeah, you should have to be a citizen to vote in a federal election, and yeah, you ought to be required to prove it.
All across the country, we see Democrat courts and Democrat officials who have been trying to throw Donald Trump off the ballot. Because nothing protects democracy like preventing the voters from voting for your opponent.